All right, guys, so really quick, we're going to go through our notes on resumes since I am not going to be here today. I'll still go over the notes. I'm just going to read through slides, so if you need more time to write, feel free to pause, take as much time as you need. But I would definitely recommend going through these notes before you start the assignment. So first off, what is a resume? A resume is a personalized document used to present your background and skills. So the way we talk about job applications are exactly the same for every single person. A resume is something you get to personalize. You pick what stuff you want to highlight, what stuff you don't. So for most of you, you might not highlight the job experience part because you don't have very much experience yet. But instead, you can make a section called extracurricular activities and talk all about stuff you've done in FFA, in sports, in other stuff, and make that a big part of your application. Your resume shows experience that's relevant to the job, so you can really pick and choose, like, okay, this is super applicable, so I'm going to put this at the front. This other thing I did really doesn't matter at all, so I'm not even going to mention it. You get to emphasize the skills that you have, so you can really highlight what makes you different and what makes you best for the job. And it's unique to you. Nobody else is going to have the same resume as you, so it's the best way to make yourself stand out for a position. Some things that you need to do on a resume. Keep it one page. You guys are young, you don't have a ton of experience. Eventually, you can go venture out to 2 pages. I have a 2-page resume now after graduating college, but really, up until you're done with college, it should be pretty short and sweet. An employer doesn't want to look through like a 20-page booklet on why you're the greatest thing ever. They want to be able to look at the paper, say, okay, that's what they do. Put it in either a keep pile or a no pile. Highlight all of your relevant experiences. So if something really applies to the job, make sure you highlight that. Include any volunteer experience. So especially you don't have a whole lot of job experience, you guys can include like working on projects for your church, maybe being in a leadership position in a club, anything like that, highlight. Include your contact info. So if, say, they misplaced your application, but they have your resume, or maybe they only have your resume in front of them, they can easily call you for an interview off of the resume. And then lastly, do start from a template. I know a lot of times we get told templates are bad, but for resumes, it guarantees you're going to have a nice, organized, easy to read paper. And again, your employer doesn't want to have to figure out where you put stuff or why you use such a wonky font. They want to be able to read it, get a summary of who you are, and decide whether or not they want to interview you. Some things to not do on your resume. Don't include obvious skills. It's great that you can use Google Docs, but so can everybody else. It's not worth highlighting. Don't include unrelated hobbies. So when I was applying for like the position here at Rosie, I did talk about that I raise show cattle because that's relevant. Like that's something I do as a hobby on my own time, but it's very relevant to being an ag teacher. I did not put in my resume that I really enjoy going to the gym because why would they care? It has nothing to do with the job. Don't use slang. So same thing with applications. Write out the formal word. Don't use slang. Try not to use contractions. Make it very professional. Don't use negative phrases. So again, you're choosing what you want to highlight. If something is not good, don't even mention it. When you list your skills, don't add in, well, I'm not very good at this. Just tell them the things you're good at. Don't write in paragraphs. Again, this goes back to the person hiring just wants to look at it, say yes or no, and move on. If they have to read through paragraphs, they're probably not even going to read them, and you're automatically going in the note pile. So bullet points are best. And then lastly, don't lie. Let's say you lied on your resume that you had some skill that you don't have. The employer was super psyched that you had that skill. You got hired, you got the job, that's awesome. And now they're like, okay, go do it. And you have no idea what you're doing. You're either going to get caught in the lie right then, or you're going to get caught in the lie when you try to do it and you mess it up. So be honest. A lot of employers are willing to train people, It's more about the personality of the person applying. So looking at resumes, here's one example. Some good things about this resume is they used a very clear, easy to read font. Some bad things, it just looks weird. They shouldn't have centered everything. It should have all been shifted to the left-hand side of the page with nice bullet points. Some of their experiences aren't necessarily super relevant. Their work experience is kind of all over the place, and it looks like they're applying for a graphic design position, so they probably didn't need to include that they worked retail for a year. It was probably their college job, but it's just not very relevant. Just like when I applied for this job, I didn't include the fact that I worked at Sonic in high school because why would they care that I worked at Sonic in high school? And some of these achievements would probably be more important than that retail associate job. This resume, again, formatting is okay, not the best, not the worst. At least the font is easy to read. But if we look at it, holy cow, it's a mess. I'm looking for a job only for the summer, though, because I got to go back to school. Thanks. So many abbreviations, so many incomplete sentences. Lord. If you're applying for a job only for the summer because you've got school, don't tell them. Just apply for the job and don't even mention that, hey, I'm going to work for you for 3 months and leave, because they're not going to pick you. They're going to want somebody that's going to be there year round. Some of her things she has to offer: good with people and wear your clothes. So I'm assuming she's applying to like a clothing store. But the fact that you wear a store's clothes really isn't relevant. And I have a very hard time believing a girl is a model, but she's applying in a retail store. So this whole section could just go away. As for skills, good at organizing, good sense of humor, good with people, good with infants and children. So your sense of humor is probably not relevant. Being good with infants really isn't relevant to working retail. So you could probably stick to those top two and make them sound more professional. Don't say good at organizing, say strong organizational skills. For good with people, but a people person, very social. Hobbies, none of these are relevant. If I want to work at like Abercrombie, I'm not going to go tell them I like to do hunting, I like laser tag, training animals, eyebrow tweezing, tattoo assistant. I don't even know what this girl's doing in her free time. And donating your hair to charity is not a hobby, and it's not relevant. Volunteer experience is a good one to highlight. Again, you could phrase it a lot better than she has here. So overall, lots of problems with this one. Our next one, we're slowly getting better. So this is pretty close to what a resume should look like. She's got her headings bolded: education, relevant experience, and then other experience. So she wanted to throw in other things that she's done, but not necessarily waste space going into detail. So she put a pretty short. What this one is missing, she doesn't have a lot of skills on here. We don't know much about her as a person, and she used this wonky font at the top. So it makes it harder to read and remember her name. And your name is super important, whether you think so or not, when you're applying for jobs. I can tell you, one of my hires at PetSmart, literally the only reason she got hired, or I remembered to hire her, was because she applied when we didn't have any openings, but she called the store and asked to speak to me. And at the end, she said, just to remember in the future, like I told her we weren't hiring, she said, just so you remember me in the future, my name is Lexus, just like the car. And I don't know, that stuck in my head. So a month later, when I had somebody leave and I did have an opening, I was like, hey, that girl, what's her name? It's Lexus. She had called and she sounded really professional. Let's pull up her stuff and look her up. So little things, having your name easily identifiable can make a huge difference. So here is what your resume should look like. You would have your name up here at the top, your contact info, your objectives, so what you're trying to achieve, your education history, some major achievements. So if you were like a club officer, if you did anything super significant, any additional skills you have, and then awards, honors, and honorary mentions. So all of that is super relevant. I wonder if I can pull up my resume. It's not going to show up. But so this is what you guys really want to look at. This is how it should look. Now you have the rest of the time to work on creating your own resume. Head over to Google Classroom to complete that assignment. I already uploaded a template, but you can adjust it and tweak it to what you need. Don't think you have to stick to that template exactly. If you have questions, email me. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day.